The Miami Dolphins made noise today. The kind of move that doesn't shake the earth, but somehow makes the ground feel different under your feet. It wasn't a blockbuster, no headline screaming about a superstar coming to South Beach, but something about it feels heavier than it should. Jordan Colbert, a name barely whispered before, is now part of the active roster. Cornell Armstrong heads to injured reserve, and Kendall Sheffield finds his way into the practice squad, waiting in the shadows again. 3 names, 3 different directions, one pulse running through them all: survival. Colbert's rise isn't glamorous. He didn't burst through draft boards or light up combines. His name didn't sit on highlight reels or prediction charts. He came from the grind, the silence of practice fields where no cameras point. Maybe that's what makes it interesting. How someone who's not supposed to be here somehow is. It's almost like he never got the memo that he wasn't meant to make it this far. And now, here he is, standing on the edge of something bigger, his jersey stitched into the roster of the Miami Dolphins. One more story in a sea of them, but maybe one that carries more hunger than most. There's something about undrafted players, the way they move, the way they hit, the way they breathe when the whistle blows. It's like the league itself is testing them every single snap. Do you belong? Colbert answered that question quietly in Buffalo, Week 3. 1 tackle on special teams that no one really noticed. But if you looked close enough, there was something in that moment. Not just contact, but intent. He was chasing not just the ball, but a reason to stay. To prove that every invisible hour in Rhode Island and Columbia meant something. Now, with his name lifted from the practice squad to the active roster, it's not about celebration. It's about staying alive in a world where being forgotten happens faster than a broken play. Cornell Armstrong, though, his path feels heavier, older, worn down by time. He's been around, bounced through teams, seen the corners of locker rooms most people forget exist. Houston, Atlanta, Las Vegas, and then back to Miami, where it all started. There's a cruel kind of poetry in that, returning to the beginning just as the body starts to remind you of how long it's been. 43 career games, for starts, numbers that don't sing but whisper stories if you listen close enough. Tackles, passes defensed, those little stats that vanish in the Sunday noise. But they're the residue of years spent trying to hold ground against the inevitable. Now he's on injured reserve. A pause. Maybe an end, maybe not. The NFL doesn't wait for anyone to heal. It's a moving train, and once you're off, catching it again takes more than strength. It takes luck, timing, and something deep inside that refuses to give up. Maybe Armstrong still has that. Maybe he doesn't. But for now, his name shifts from the active list to the background. Another reminder of how fragile the game really is. One play, one twist, and suddenly your season is a ghost. And then there's Kendall Sheffield, a name that's been circling around the league like a shadow. Atlanta, San Francisco, Tennessee, New York, even Miami for a flicker during the offseason. He's seen enough uniforms to fill a museum of second chances. It's not that he's failed. It's that the league never really stopped testing him. Every time he finds a place, the ground moves again. And now, back to a practice squad. Not a fall, not really, but another weight. The kind of weight that eats at you slowly. You're close enough to touch the field, but just far enough to watch others live what you still want. There's a pattern here, and maybe that's the thing. The Dolphins aren't just shuffling names. They're weaving together players who've known the long road. No shortcuts. No headlines. Just men who've learned that staying in the league is a battle fought in silence. Colbert, Armstrong, Sheffield. Each of them a story written in different ink, but they all share the same undercurrent. This league doesn't hand anything to anyone. You take it, or you disappear. Think about Colbert for a second. Rhode Island, Columbia. Not the path most players dream of when they start throwing a ball as kids. But sometimes the game loves the ones who keep showing up. 96 tackles, 2 interceptions, 6 passes defensed. Small numbers in college terms, but every one of those moments was a test. Half a sack, 2 forced fumbles, 1 touchdown off a recovery. Stats that barely make a headline. Yet now in Miami, they start to matter. It's strange how time works in football. The plays you thought no one cared about start to echo when opportunity calls your name. And Armstrong, that Southern Miss grit never left him. He was never the flashiest, But there's something about consistency that teams keep coming back to. Maybe it's his presence in the locker room. Maybe the way he reads plays before they unfold. Whatever it is, he's been just enough to stay. Until now. Injury changes everything. The league doesn't pause to ask if you're ready to come back. It moves on quietly. While he heals, Colbert steps in. And that's the harsh rhythm of the NFL. Someone's pain opens a door for someone else's chance. What does this mean for Miami, though? It's not just roster mechanics. There's a deeper tone in it. A team chasing balance, trying to fill spaces without breaking rhythm. The Dolphins, this year, feel like they're building something beneath the surface. Layers of toughness, adaptability. Moves like this don't make headlines for a reason, but they're the kind that show how a team breathes. When you bring up a safety like Colbert, you're saying something subtle. We value hunger. When you keep a player like Sheffield nearby, you're whispering, we're not done trying combinations yet. And when you place a veteran like Armstrong on IR, you're silently admitting that even the strongest need rest. Maybe it's all just roster math on paper, but if you look close, it's more than that. It's a reflection of where the Dolphins are mentally. A team not chasing perfection but sustainability. A group learning that depth isn't built by stars alone. It's built by the ones who grind when no one's watching. The ones who take reps at full speed knowing they might not even dress on Sunday. The kind of players who keep the locker room breathing when the lights go out. Colbert now stands in that doorway. One game played, one special teams tackle, and now a chance to carve out something real. What happens next? That's the question hanging in the air like humidity before a storm. Does he rise? Does he fade? Does he become another name that flashes across the transaction wire and disappears? No one knows. But the Dolphins saw something enough to pull him up. And in this league, enough can become everything. As for Sheffield, his return to Miami's orbit feels unfinished, like a line that got cut short mid-sentence. Maybe he's back because the staff remembered his speed, his ability to stay with receivers when others lose steps. Or maybe it's because he fits the kind of depth Miami's trying to create, players who can slip in and out of roles, adjust, survive. That's what the season demands, not perfection, but endurance. Sheffield has that in his bones. You don't last through Atlanta, San Francisco, Tennessee, and the Jets if you don't. You adapt, or you disappear. He's still here, and that says enough. It's easy to overlook days like this. No fireworks, no media frenzy. Just another line in the team's official release. But this is where teams build their real identity. In the quiet moves. In the decisions that never make SportsCenter. Because somewhere in that locker room, players notice. They see Colbert walking in with a new jersey. They see Armstrong packing his locker. They see Sheffield return. And it stirs something. The reminder that this league never stops. That every rep, every snap, every day could be the one that changes everything. For Armstrong, maybe this pause becomes reflection. Maybe he watches from the sideline and remembers what it felt like when he first got drafted in 2018, back when everything still felt possible. Maybe he thinks about how quickly it all moves, how names rise and fall in the same season. Maybe he's planning his return already, that quiet determination that never really leaves players like him. Injured reserve doesn't have to mean goodbye. Sometimes it just means wait. And for Colbert, this is the door swinging open. You get the call. Your name hits the roster, and suddenly everything changes. The helmet fits tighter. The field looks wider. You feel the weight of it, not pressure, but possibility. Maybe that's what makes stories like his worth following. Not because he's supposed to be a star, but because he wasn't supposed to be anything at all. That's what makes it raw, authentic, real. Sheffield, though, his story feels like a heartbeat that won't stop. Always moving, always adapting. His career is the definition of persistence, and maybe Miami's the place where that finally pays off. Practice squad today, maybe active roster tomorrow. That's the edge players like him live on. It's exhausting, but it's alive. And for a team like the Dolphins, that kind of energy matters more than anyone outside the building realizes. So here they are, 3 men, 3 paths, one team trying to make sense of it all. The season's long, unpredictable, full of moments that never make headlines but shape everything. Maybe this move doesn't feel big now, But give it time. The NFL has a way of turning background stories into front-page drama. And maybe, just maybe, this is one of those moments we'll look back on later and say, yeah, that's where it started to shift. No noise. No spotlight. Just quiet moves, full of meaning. Miami's building something. Maybe not perfect, maybe not polished, but something that feels real. And in a league that often forgets the human beneath the helmet, that's worth paying attention to.